Hi, I'm Sharon Ferguson with Century 21 Redwood Realty. I fully support TV 18, and as a 14-year resident of Lake of the Woods, I love life around the lake.
Hi, we're Diane and Keith Morris from Integrity Automotive.
And we support TV 18 and love life around the lake.
Hi, Norm Allen with you here from TV 18 Life Around the Lake. All of you who have been donating and helping us with our cause here to keep Project 18 and TV 18 going, I want you to know how much we appreciate that. I also want to remind you that any of you who would like to participate in it, you may do so by making your checks out to FLOW, Friends of Lake of the Woods, a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and you get a tax deduction for all of your donations. You're the reason we're on the air. You're the reason it works, because at TV 18 Life Around the Lake, the stories are all about you.
Hello, welcome to Art for Life. I'm your host, Pete Brown. Today we're going to be exploring a little bit of mixed media, if you will. What I've done today is underpainted with an acrylic paint, but I'm going to be doing the next layer in oil. Now, the purpose of this lesson is to show you two things: the importance of the background, but also creating excitement at each level. Now, you can see in here I've kind of laid out this scene. I sketched a little thing on a piece of paper. I've got a little dock going this way. It may be hard to see because it's just very darkly roughed in. I've got a little peninsula of land here with a bulkhead, one over here. I've created an S type of pattern which creates some interest. So wherever there's little spits of land sticking out, eventually there'll be some houses back here. This is kind of a typical lake scene here at Lake of the Woods. There'll be some houses way across here across the lake. There'll be one or two here probably. A couple trees going all the way off of the page here, and something on this dock, whether it's somebody fishing or a bird sitting on it or something. Don't know where it'll go. I probably won't get this painting finished in this series or in this lesson for 30 minutes, but it will be on my website when it's completed, PeteBrownArt.com. So what I'm going to do today, though, showing these ugly garish colors that I put underneath here. Why would you do that? Well, the reason I do that is to create some excitement underneath. So if I let some of these colors show under here, I'll have a much more interesting finish. So let's see how that works for me. I've mixed up a little bit of sky color, which basically is a little cerulean blue, some white, touch of orange into it to knock it back a little bit. I want it to be fairly light, going over all of this color up here. So I'm going to work the sky first. I may have to stop for a moment and set up to work the water. Always remember, the water reflects the sky when you're doing your painting. So let's see what this looks like when I put it up here against it. So I've mixed this sky color. As you can see, it's very light, but it's going to go over this. And our sky is always lightest at the horizon, darkest at the zenith. I've kind of done that with these paints. And I also have a temperature shift from blue, warmer on this side, to cooler on this side with the violet. So we want some variety in our skies. No sense of making them boring. All right, so here goes. Let's see what happens with this. Dragging this color over these colors. How does it work? How thick do I want to make this? I have to see as we go. I've got a little tree line right in front of this, but I'm going oil now over acrylic to create a, this may be a little bit light there, so I'll get the darker part of that. When I create color, I make a chain, dark to light. Now I'll begin. I'm just fuzzing this on here now. I'll blend it out a little more. I want some of that ugly color under it to show through, so I don't want to cover it completely. So you'll see it peeking through in some of these expanses. And you'll notice I'm using the side of the brush primarily here. I'm not using it like a pencil. I'm holding it more like a trowel. I could do this with a palette knife just as well. but it's your choice. Now, once I get it laid on there, I feather it out so there's no hard line. So this begins to look a little bit like a sky. In the lighter sections here now, I got to do the same thing. I got to get some paint on there and then work it in all directions to soften it. Over here on this tree line again, I want the thicker paint there going up into this darker area. I'll pull it, push it, whatever it takes to get it there. And so we're trying to create a nice skyline. Let's work on a cross here over this harsh yellow. What it's going to do for us is make a brightness under it. Now, when I'm done with this sky, if I want to re-emphasize or rebuild any of these colors, I've kind of covered that out with the lightness here, but I can go back and put it back in with some of the same color in the oil range. But I've left just enough back here to give us some variation in our sky. Now, when I go to the purple side, I'm going to take the blue, the darker part of that mixture. I make a color string, light to dark, with the same color. I'm going to start putting this over the violet, but I really want that violet to show, so I'm going to be careful not to completely cover the violet. And I'll get my temperature shift that I'm looking for. In fact, I'll even take a little bit of the violet paint, some violet paint, work into this sky mixture now. So I've got a little diazolon purple that I put into that color. So it's purple on purple, not just blue on purple, and I'll get the effect I'm looking for. So I worked a little bit of violet into my sky color to get a darker version and a cooler version of the sky. And if I start to work that back across, you can see that it does what I'm looking for, which is a color shift, temperature shift. So I've got the sky going from blue to violet across there. Now I'm going to clean this off a bit and come back with the other sky color where I've got the red and the blue. I'll probably end up putting some orange in there. I'm going to go with the darkest part of this blue here as I meet the violet. Probably didn't get it dark enough, but if I work it up into it, it looks softer and more sky-like. So we don't want harsh. So I've got some fairly thick paint here now with this oil that's working into that. A little bit more of the lighter color over here, just so we have variation, gradation. We want our sky, and you can do a flat sky, there's nothing wrong with that. But for this particular painting, what I have in mind for it is a lake scene looking out of a cove. Could be any cove in the lake, but it's going to give us the effect I'm looking for. Right now I'm just going to create the water line real quickly. I'm going to use more of the purplish color I use in the sky. I've already kind of masked in with the acrylic our tree line, but where the water comes behind all of this land, I want to be able to see it as I'm going out. The reason I chose the more violet color there, it's in shadow because of the tree line, but I'm going to put a little touches of the bluish color in there, the light bluish color, just so we can see this line as a water line. Way back in the background there's water. Before the shadows, we'll see a little teeny bit of the water. If you look out at any body of water that has something behind it, that's how you'll see it. So now, I've got that. I've got the tree line from the acrylics. I'll probably come back over those with some oil paints, but I don't have to. That's the beauty of mixed media. So now I'm going to start on my back here a little bit. I want to drag a little bit of this across. And now when I work this water, I'm going to do it a little differently than I did in our last painting. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to pull this water down in some ways like this. I'll pull it down, then I'll go across it because I'm trying to get some thickness in here. I need more of the purple in here because this is still shadowed area right there. So the violet into the water there gives us some shadow effect. Now I need more of it's a back and forth. Now I'll put a little more of the bluish color in there. Again, I'm using the side of the brush. Now, you'll notice my final strokes in water are always going to be horizontal. Water is always horizontal to the viewer. No matter which way it's flowing, whatever, when you're trying to paint it, if you try to paint water, if I were to drag this way to show this water is coming this way, it would just look off. It would not work. So the water has to be horizontal. It's stepping down, it's flowing in this S shape, but if I try to draw it that shape, I'll ruin it. Now I can put some strokes under it that way to indicate flow under it or whatever, but primarily it needs to be horizontal. All right, so over here toward the lighter side, we're going to put a little, I've got some reddish tones under there. Again, we're just dragging colors over each other to create the effect of the water coming at us. I don't want to kill all this yellow in here, or I'll have to pull it back. But and if we don't get a good match of the oil to acrylic, I probably will have to come back and put some over. So I want to take it that way. I have to be careful in here to not kill everything under it if I want it there. Now, I'm not real happy with this bit of land and this one being exactly the same shape, because as you see here, these things step out and back. That's important in my design when I did my sketch. Somehow or another, I ended up with two the same length. I don't like that, so I'll probably lose some of this one. Let's just do it now, so it's not the same length as the one in front of it, or I'll lose it altogether. Let's lose it altogether. Why not? We make these decisions. It's our little thing we want to do, so let's do it how we want to do it. So I'm going to cover up my spit of land that was there because I just don't need it. So this steps here and here, and way back there, there's water over here off the page. Now it makes more sense to me. So over here in the shadowy areas again, this bulkhead will shadow this water, so I want more of the violet in there. All right, then over here, since I've got the violet in the sky up here, I've got violet in the underpainting. Let's keep the violet going here a little bit. Now, here's where I'm going to start the other stroke I was just doing. So I'm going to pull some of this down like this, and lay it on thick, and then pull across it. Same thing right above that where I had that spit of land I need to cover. This is a good way to kill it. A little darker color, put it there. And then we have more of a reflective quality. Now, to make sure that it looks like water, I'll drag some of the lighter color back across it. So it's a matter of the back and forth, getting it all to work. Take a little more mixture here of make some more sky color real quickly as I'm going. So I've used for my sky color in this particular one, again, it's a cerulean blue, which is a lighter blue, leans toward green, and a tiniest bit of orange into that to kill it, and a lot of white, and maybe even a little of a neutral gray. Premixed gray, you can make your own black by using, as we said in other shows, burnt sienna and ultramarine blue make a nice mixed black. Black straight out of the tube is typically a very dead looking color. I don't recommend using it much. So a little bit here. Again, I'm trying to keep some of that underpainting. You'll notice too, the brightest spot was here where there was a sun yellow there. I'll put that back in later, but as we come down, the reflections also go straight toward the viewer. Water's horizontal, reflections go toward the viewer, and they get wider as they come down. We'll lose some of them over here in the shadow, but where this line of yellow is where the viewer is, so we want to keep that coming that way. So when this is done, I will have the brightest light coming from here, behind these trees. It's important to pay attention to where our light source is. So right here, we'll join these two, because it's out here in the open, more the lighter sky color. Marry it to this violet here, this way, that way. If I need to, I can go palette knife and put it on a little thicker. In the middle, I want to keep it as lighter so I don't lose it all. Now over here, this is the critical part for keeping that yellow. I either have to keep it or I have to put it back in later. That's my guide for where I want to be, but I do want some of it showing because That's the whole purpose of this underpainting, create excitement at each level. And so if I kill it, I've wasted my time. So little streaks, little horizontal strokes across there create the effect of light hitting, and it starts to look like water. Water is one of my favorite subjects, as evident in most of the stuff on my website. But I grew up the son of a fisherman, as I said in earlier shows, and that kind of, you paint the things you love and you'll always enjoy what you're doing. So our hobbies, why we like our hobbies better than we like our work sometimes, what we love to do. Now, in an ideal world, if you can do something you love for a living, then you've got it made. Over here, I'm going to put some, you can barely see, there's a pontoon boat that's going to go here, one here probably, but that'll be the last stuff, so it has to go on later. Up in here where this water is shadowed, I'm back to a more violet look. Out here probably I need a little of that pulled down, and that's going over the land. This is a very tedious part of the painting, but I wanted to show you how to do it. As I say, I doubt I'll get this one finished because of the tedious nature of it, but we will have this one on the website. And but I want you to see how to go about such things. The importance of an underpainting can't be overstated. If you just start trying to paint water on a white canvas, it'll be a very frustrating experience. You got to have, if you're painting something white, like I said in an earlier show, you got to have gray under it. You can go dark under the water. You could almost put a black or a dark gray in the underpainting of a water, and it'll come out pretty good. You just got to have something that is not white, and we don't want to use pure white anywhere on this thing, except if we had some ripples on the beach, maybe almost pure white. We don't have a beach in this one. This is not a shore painting, so we're not going to have to deal with much. We might put a couple ripples in at the end just to show reflectance of the sky, but anyway. So this is how we go about building these things. That's the most important part today. I'm going to grab a little more white over here, work into that. A little more sideways so I can get more volume of paint. And you'll notice that this is very broken, this color. I don't want to make it all solid. A little white drug over. Each time I'm doing a layer, I'm dragging more paint over it to create the brokenness. So up here, where I've laid down that paint earlier, if I go back with a lighter version, I'm just dipping white back into the sky color I mixed and dragging it back and forth to create the effect of that. Let me go back up here to the violet area and do some of the same so we have an idea what it will look like at the end. So these little touches of stuff give us the effect we're looking for. All we're doing anytime we're painting is suggesting something. We're suggesting that this is a body of water. We're suggesting things are three-dimensional when it's a two-dimensional surface. That's the challenge of a painting. Make it look three-dimensional on a two-dimensional surface. The little guy over here that I covered, I need a little more something in there so he's not a strip of land anymore. Now let's go back. I think I got that one a little too light, so I'm going to put some dark back in it. Yeah, so that's working my way down this painting. It's a very tedious process. In here in the middle, I'm going lighter because I don't want to lose all of my yellow, all of my that I took so much trouble to put in there in the underpainting. I want to keep it. Now, if you're getting bored, as I am watching me paint water, I'll jump over and start working some of the other parts of this. But I want to get an idea, show you how to go about things is the purpose of this show. It's not so much what my finished product is going to look like here at this point. It's a matter of how to create the effects. So in just a moment I'll switch gears here and we'll work on some of the other parts so you can see how this thing would come together. Okay, so let me change gears. I'm going to reset, work on some of the other parts of the painting, and we'll come
Norm
back.
Allen with you on TV 18. Well, we're back on location again to bring you more great stories about our community and the places that we live. Because this is not only about where we live, but it's about how we live. You'll find that and other great shows right here on TV 18 Life Around the Lake. Because after all, the stories, they're all about you.
Well, welcome back. Now, I said we were going to take a little bit of break, bring this weather further along, but work on some of the areas, other areas to show you what we're doing here. I've started out by mixing up some greens for these strips of land. I basically took a little bit of, in this case, ultramarine blue, and I did a Naples yellow, and tried that. That's very blue. Take some more of a primary yellow. You can see I've made a pool here. So you play with this. Now you get the green. That's kind of like a permanent green light. Doesn't occur much in nature. So if I step that down with a little either bright red or earth red, I can dull it down. And then from there, I can begin to vary the color of it with more yellows. So I get a different green. As my producer-director Norm Allen just said, there are more colors of green in nature than any other color, and that's very true. So when you're painting landscapes, particularly like this, you've got to be cognizant of it. You don't start with the bright green blade of grass because it's going to not work. It's going to be flat. So you have to step it up, make different color change. So I've done that here and here. I think I've got enough to start now on this particular thing. So I'm going to go back to the back of the painting, to the furthest away area where I've grayed down some of this green even more with the greens. I put a little actual light gray in it. So these strips of land in the back, I'm just going to make some touches here to get a grade green. Even on this tree line that I put in with the acrylics, it won't be very, that's maybe a little light because this is all in shadow, the back of these trees. But I want to have just enough green to show you. I'm going to take the darker green just to suggest that it's green, suggest that it's trees, some of the darker green color back in there, just enough to sell it as or suggested as green. Finger painting, wiping off, whatever. In this background, in the underpainting, there's violets, some reds, burnt sienna, some umbers, some purples. As you can, it's kind of prominent there. That would be the most shadowed area where the sun's going to peek through. Not going to do much more than that, but just for right now, for that. Now I'm going to go back to the background again. So lighter grays on this area. As I said earlier, this may have a house or two on it when this painting is done. It will be on the website. It won't be on the houses won't get there today. I'm now working in oil paints instead of acrylic, and the drying time is just different. It takes longer for each layer to dry. So, and we want to work in layers always, unless we're doing an alla prima or one coat, which I demonstrated on one of the earlier shows. May do one on the next show. So we just suggest the green, the grade greens. As I come forward, they should get a little brighter. So let's go middle of this now. I'm going to take some of this more yellowed greens here, I don't know. And on this next strip, we just want them each to be different. So there'll be something on this land, but right now what I've got to do is get enough contrast between the what's behind it so that you can see this. And I'm not trying to make blades of grass here. I have to step that down more yellowed because I don't like that. I'm just suggesting that it's green. And if I don't like it, I'll take it off. The beauty of working with thicker paint, you can take it off. If you paint thin, what you put there is pretty much a stain and you can't get it out. So I'll put a lighter over that, lighter color. All right, I don't need to keep messing with it. Here, I'll fix it as we go. What I'm trying to get to here is some of these front spits of land so we can see how those will work. Over here, greener here. A little bit of land sticking out there. There's probably going to be some trees and things sticking out over here. So once I get, those will be in a later here. But just trying to bring out the land spit so you can see it. you'll notice that the front edges of these are always lighter than the back edges of these because the stuff gets darker as it goes back. Down here in the very foreground, it'll be different yet. So just trying to get some color in here to suggest that we're looking at a bit of green grass. I'm doing little side strokes here. May need to do, if I want to do something that looks like it's grass, I can flick up stuff up at the edge in particular. If I take the front edge and just kind of flick up, it'll suggest that it's grass going over that water. Just very light, you know. A well-kept lawn probably wouldn't have much of that. All right, so there's that. A little more here. Oh, that was way too light. I don't like it. Off it goes. Kind of, sort of, rub it in. And so what I just did was killed my underpainting of red. So what I'm going to do, I'll take a little more burnt sienna and simply put it back in. There's nothing we can mess up on a painting that we can't fix up. I lost my red underpainting. The complement of green being red, I put some burnt sienna back in it, and I'm back in business. So just that simple. We don't panic, don't sweat, we just fix. So now where I put that, I can put some green back over that to break it up. And we're going to have a convincing presentation of grass. No harm, no foul. All right. Oh, there's one over here on the left. Let me just do something here. Better get some more color. Using our greens in here. They kind of look all the same. I'll go back and fix that so that they don't. More red into that. What's under the grass is important. The color under it. If you get it with just green, it'll look wrong. It just won't look. And as my old teacher told me, you don't have to be right, you just can't be wrong. You don't want it to look wrong. You got to have it read like the stuff it's supposed to represent. A little more of the red back in there, and that where it was too green. So that's all I'm going to do on those for now. Now I'm going to start working on this foreground. Give me one moment to grab some other colors. I'll be back with you in just a second.
I'm Melissa.
Darlene.
We're from Low Hair Studio.
I love TV18.
And we love Life Around the Lake.
Okay, welcome back. Now for my oil painter friends, this is important. When we use oil paints, don't stick your brush in turpentine after every stroke. Simply wipe it out and go from there. And when it's time to clean your oil paint brushes, if you're going to be painting within the next 2 or 3 days, don't dip them in turpentine. Instead, we take some vegetable oil, just plain old vegetable oil. We rub it in there, rub the paint around. The oil in the vegetable oil loosens up the paint, the pigments. So we're going to do both of these brushes real quick. I'll just do this one. So we do that. So we get the oil, we get the paint out. Next we take some detergent. Then we get the oil out with the detergent. So we mash that around, wipe it back off. Now if I want to clean that off, I got a pot of water here. My brush is now clean, it's good to go, just by using oil on the brush and water. Then to clean this up, simply take the whole mess, get it out of there. A little window cleaner in our palette is good to go. So when you're using oil paints, don't clean your brushes after every stroke. Don't dip it in turpentine. If you need turpentine to start a thin layer, we'll work on that on our next painting. We'll show you how to start an oil painting completely in oil. Until the next time, I hope you'll make art a part of your life and enjoy painting. If there's questions, give me a call. My website, PeteBrownArt.com. All the paintings we feature here on the show will eventually make it there when they're complete. Thank you so much for joining us. Hope to see you again soon.
This is the crew from the Flower Cottage. We are excited to support TV18. We love life around the lake.
This is Michael from Red, White, Blue, and Brew, your neighborhood shop for beer, wine, and cheese. We love TV18 and life around the lake.